Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian. We welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We'll cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment. When we give you guys a fresh perspective on things that we see. Today, we're going to be talking about the James Harden's damn Clippers. But before we even get into it, this video is brought to you. Before you even get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want today's full show, it's streaming for free before it comes out. Make sure you go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We have that linked in the description below. You can catch the show for free if you want to catch it before it comes out on YouTube. Anyway, let me get into this topic. Again, some people are wondering, where the hell are you? What's up with this background? I'm currently in the UK, going to be here for some time, spending the holidays with my family. So we're going to be here. We're going to be changing up the studio as we go along, so don't be surprised. And then a few months later, we're going to be back to doing what we normally do. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. As you guys know, before we took our quick break, last time you saw me, I was going off on James Harden. Going off on the Clippers. The Clippers are quickly turning themselves into the biggest laughing stock in the NBA right now. It's the Clippers. This is what the Clippers are doing. For those of you who may not be aware, the Clippers have not won a bloody game since James Harden has joined the team. That's number one. Number two, they have lost 5 games in a row. Number three, the team they look like they are having an emotional breakdown in front of everyone. Paul George seems to be flummoxed. Head coach Ty Lue is dropping F-bombs all over the place. Kawhi Leonard looks pissed off. Him and Ivica Zubac are having back and forth on the court. They're trying to now get themselves revved up, and everybody has to do the dirty work and all of these different things. And I'm sitting here asking myself the question, why did y'all do this in the first place? Prior to this trade, the Clippers had no such issues. Would they go through some of the malaise and sometimes, having mental lapses? But that's what every team goes through during the regular season. But they never had these type of issues. But nevertheless, they saw fit that they go out there and trade for James Harden, a player that nobody wanted. No one wanted James Harden. If there were people that were looking to gain the services of James Harden, where were they when he said he was fed up with the Philadelphia 76ers? Number one. Number two, why was James Harden even in a position to be deciding where he wants to go to when he had just found a way to basically quit his way out of the last 3 organizations that he was with? The Brooklyn Nets, the Brooklyn Nets and the Houston Rockets. And now you find him quitting his way out of the Philadelphia 76ers. And this was the player that the Clippers thought, man, this should be a great guy to bring into the locker room. This would be the person. I said it when the trade initially went down. I said James Harden is not going to be one of those people that when the bleeding starts happening, when the team starts losing, that he's going to be the one that brings everybody into the fold. If anything, he would just mentally check out, as he has been known to do historically. People act like we're making this up about James Harden when we're not. This is the James Harden way. This is what he does. So what happens? As you guys know, Shannon Sharpe usually comes on ESPN 2 days a week on Mondays and Tuesdays. And he was asked to weigh in on this disaster of a trade that the Clippers went off and basically completed. And he was asked to weigh in on some of the struggles that the Clippers have been facing ever since they brought in James Harden after this baffling trade. And when it was time for Shannon Sharpe to weigh in, he absolutely did not hold back on the Clippers and its entire team. But before we even get into his comments, this video is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, Factor Meals. If you're like me or anybody that works at DREAMERSPRO, chances are you're a very, very busy person, especially during the lunchtime when you don't have time to go to the grocery store, pick out fresh ingredients, and come back home and cook healthy, delicious meals. Sometimes we're so busy that you just end up finding yourself making a ham sandwich or something like that, which isn't really ideal. And this is the reason why we are excited to be partnering with Factor Meals. Factor Meals is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. You can choose from up to 35 gourmet meals. Every meal is packed with premium ingredients, crafted by Factor Meals' team of culinary experts and designed by dietitians to ensure that every meal is packed with premium science-backed nutritional quality. Your meals are delivered directly to your door, and all you need to do is heat them up in just under 2 minutes. Then they are ready for you to eat and enjoy. So for example, this week, I think I'm gonna go with the Italian herb chicken. What I love is that under every single meal, you can see if it's a calorie conscious option. For example, this meal I just chose is the dietitian approved calorie smart meal, which is around 550 calories or less per serving, and also a protein plus meal with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. So if you want to give it a try, click the link in the description below or head over to factormeals.com/dreamers50 and use code dreamers50 to get 50% off. And remember, when you try Factor Meals by using the link in the description below, remember that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what Shannon Sharpe had to say about the total ineptitude that's taking place on the Clippers organization, and then we're going to come back and continue off the show. Take a listen to what Shannon Sharpe had to say there.
Is it too soon to call the Clippers-Harden partnership a mistake?
It is, but I thought it was a mistake to sign James Harden anyway because I didn't think they needed another scorer. I didn't think they needed another ball handler. I think with PG, Kawhi, Russ, and Terrence Mann, I thought they had plenty of scoring. Maybe if you want to go out and get a defender, maybe if you want to go out and get another big alongside Zubac, but you're saying James Harden to be James Harden. So what's Kawhi supposed to do while that's going on? What's PG supposed to do while James Harden is being James Harden, getting comfortable? What's Russ supposed to do? Russ was playing outstanding. The team was playing really, really well. I just thought they added a piece they didn't need to add, and now it doesn't fit. Maybe in, say, 10, 20 games, Stephen A., they can figure this thing out, but right now it looks like a disaster.
It does look like a disaster. I don't expect that to last. I think if you're James Harden, you need to be very, very concerned, not just because of how you're looking, but because of how Tyrese Maxey and the Philadelphia 76ers are looking without you. So obviously that's an indictment against James Harden to some degree if that pace continues, which I sincerely doubt that it will, at least to that degree. Having said all of that, to me, Shannon Sharpe, I asked this simple question: where the hell is Kawhi Leonard? Ain't he the star? Ain't he the superstar for the squad? Ain't he the two-time NBA champion, the two-time NBA Finals MVP? Paul George to a lesser degree, of course, but definitely Kawhi Leonard. See, this is why I get critical of the star. We know that Kawhi Leonard is a superstar basketball player. We know how productive he can be. But when I talk about stopping the bleeding, I'm not just talking about your greatness on the basketball court. I'm talking about your ability to lead or lack thereof. Those things come into play to somebody that stops the bleeding, somebody that says enough of this nonsense. Here's what the hell we're going to do. Why are the Clippers worried about acclimating James Harden to such a degree as opposed to making sure you get all you can from Kawhi Leonard while you can? To me, that is the key. That's why you have somebody of that magnitude, Shannon Sharpe, and that's what I'm thinking about.
But can James Harden get comfortable and Kawhi be himself? Because Kawhi needs the ball. Paul George, I just don't understand when you look at James Harden game, what he didn't realize that pick and roll that he had with Joel Embiid, that's why he led the league in assists. Just think about how many easy assists he got by dumping the ball down to Joel Embiid or putting in the pick and roll or Joel Embiid running the court, and he's getting easy assists. Now you're saying, James, get comfortable. James getting comfortable is ball dominant. Well, Paul George, Kawhi, Russ just standing around looking at him, that's not going to fly, Stephen A. I don't believe he can ever what they're saying, James Harden be what we need James Harden to be. He needs to go back to be that Philly James Harden where he's a passer, a facilitator. But the scoring James Harden, the getting comfortable, I don't see how he becomes that with Kawhi and PG.
So you heard what Shannon Sharpe had to say. Listen, we need to start asking questions about this team from management down. We really need to. The Clippers have done something that I think if you sat down some of the executives and the people that made this trade a possibility, they would have no clear answer as to why they did it. Because if I could sit down and talk to Lawrence Frank, if I could sit down and talk to the players that thought this would have been a brilliant move, I would have asked them the question, what is it that James Harden is bringing that you already don't have? Number one. Number two, is the premium that James Harden provides for your team, is it going to be greater than the loss in terms of your versatility after you go ahead and complete this trade? No one in their right mind would say that the premium that James Harden gives to this team is going to be greater than the loss. Do you know why? Because James Harden can only do one or two things. Number one, he is a ball-dominant guy that pounds the hell out of that ball, dribbles the hell out of that ball, And if he doesn't have the ball in his hand, how effective is he really? Some people says, well, he could be pretty good as a spot-up shooter. Folks, why would you go get a Hall of Fame type of guy who traditionally is known for having the ball in his hand and then try to turn him into a spot-up shooter when you already had spot-up shooters that could play better defense than James Harden, and you wouldn't be sitting here trying to figure out, okay, who gets the ball next? Why would you do that? Why would you do this? What's the sense in it? The Clippers already had spot-up shooters that could play defense and were versatile. You had the Swiss Army knife and Nicholas Batum, and you had Robert Covington. You trade him away. You trade away KJ Martin, Kenyon Martin's son. You trade him away. You trade away youth to bring in a James Harden, who is going to be a playmaker, but you already have playmakers. And if for Russell Westbrook to be effective, he needs a ball in his hand. So if you're looking for the playmaking of James Harden, how is that going to be possible when he doesn't have the ball in his hand? How is that going to be possible? Number two, let's talk about it from a chemistry and a locker room standpoint. Is James Harden the player you want in your locker room to galvanize the troops? I was recently listening to a segment from Gil's Arena where Gilbert Arenas was pushing back on the notion that James Harden is the reason the Clippers are going through what they're going through right now. And I know there's some people out there that want me and Gilbert Arenas to basically get into a boxing match and start fighting because that's what they love. They love to see black dudes fighting each other. These black dudes, I'm not talking about white people here, I'm talking about black dudes. That the only way they can see two black dudes going at each other is either they knocking each other out or cussing each other. You can't have a civil disagreement. We got to get in the mud. I disagree with something that Gilbert Arenas said. And no, I'm not about to cook him because we're not in high school. He said that we shouldn't put it all on the Clippers. On James Harden. And I'm saying that what's been the number one variable to the problems that this team is having, and I'm going to say James Harden. What's been the biggest change? James Harden. So I'm going to be looking in the direction of that guy. No one will tell me that the Clippers were as bad as they were before James. I think before they even got James Harden, they had probably been, I think they were probably one game above 500, or maybe at the 500 mark. Are you telling me that the Clippers, if they did not have James Harden, they'll be this bad? You got to be out of your mind. Why? You know why? Because the three-man rotation of Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard were the most effective three-man unit in the entire league. They were. Paul George is averaging about 28 a game. Now these guys can barely get a rhythm. It's James Harden. Because James Harden is affecting their offense, and they've gotten rid of so many glue guys. They can do so many other things for the team when they're not scoring. Then now you're asking guys who have never done things in their life like do the dirty work. Which one of these guys on the Lakers roster, on the Clippers roster, does the dirty work? Name them. Russell Westbrook could give you some hustle plays. Kawhi Leonard used to be a defensive player, so that's how he built his way up in the rankings. Paul George is the same thing. When did James Harden ever do the dirty work? When did he ever do the dirty work? You now have PJ Tucker, who's an undermanned, I don't know what position you want to put him at, who can't even stretch the floor. Who would you rather have? PJ Tucker, Robert Covington? Give me Robert Covington, please. Thank you. Or Nicholas Batum. Because I know at least those guys are going to stretch the floor at least a little bit. It's a disaster. And I think Shannon Sharpe was 100% correct in all of the positions that he took. This thing is going to get worse. Some people are talking about give it time. Give it time for what? For what exactly? Oh, we looking for these guys to develop a new skill set? It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Why you would take 4 all-stars, put them on a team, and then start asking these guys to sacrifice when these guys could play their natural positions when it was just 3 of them and everything was working out. But the Clippers decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and break it. Then we can now find a way to fix it again. I'm not going to see how this trade is going to work, and I don't care to give it more. So there's some people that don't give it more time. They're looking from the basketball aspect. Some people are trying to overcomplicate. Well, the Clippers can't play any defense. They can't play any. Well, obviously they can't play any defense because they just got worse defensively. They just did. They got rid of 2 defenders and added a worse one to the roster. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Have you been watching those games when they've been searching for those pick and roll and those switches? Who do you think they've been trying to switch on to? They've been trying to switch on to James Harden. In the case of Russell Westbrook, if he wasn't as astute as a defender as Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, you can make up for that deficiency. Trapping, getting back to the ball, switching off. You can do that. But right now you have 4 guys and only 2 can play defense in the starting lineup. And you have Vincent Zupac who they're going to pick and roll to death or switch. And you saw what Luka Doncic was doing to him. Would you rather have James Harden or Luka? I'm done.